Hi, anyone that's watching this. So, I don't know, the last few videos have done fairly well, the crash ones, so thank you very much for that. And in this one, it's a passion project for myself, where I'm going to talk about one of, if not my favourite games of all time. Pikmin was a huge part of my childhood. We had a GameCube with both Pikmin 1 and 2 on it, with a few other games, but there's no game that could hold my attention like Pikmin 1 did at the time. I didn't quite understand why it did, but it just did. There's something gripping about it. Even so much that, like, I mained Olimar in Smash Brawl at the time, and then he was my pocket pick in 4 and Ultimate. We got the game on the Wii as well, and the use of motion controls made the game feel so much better to play. Not that the original was bad in any form, but I just preferred the motion controls at the time when I was a kid. The Pikmin franchise is Nintendo's most slept on one, and well, until Pikmin 4, and then everyone's kind of understood why it's so great. Well, except for F-Zero, that's long dead and buried. But yeah, let's jump into why the game's so amazing. The game just consists of you getting 30 ship parts back to your broken ship to rebuild it, which sounds boring, but the method of doing so is exploring these giant maps with an army of Pikmin, which are these like plant animal creatures with 3 different varieties, red, yellow and blue, each bringing something different to the table. Red are the strongest and fire resistant, yellow can be thrown higher and can hold bomb rocks, which are required for you to break down certain walls that the Pikmin heads can't just break, and then blue can survive in water. The way to get Pikmin is to carry these things called pellets, or dead enemies that they've killed, to their onions, which is what their little houses are called in the game, converting them into more Pikmin. Yeah, so they all have their own colour, and then depending on what Pikmin's carrying it, say you've got more red, they'll go back to the red Pikmin's onion, giving you more of that kind of Pikmin. Yeah, I also forgot to mention, Pikmin do absolutely everything, and Olimar, the main character, is just leading them and doesn't really get his hands dirty at all. The game's quite stressful, with you having to lead your army around and watch their inevitable deaths from your mistakes, and then, yeah, you've got these frogs, snails, creatures just jumping on your Pikmin, killing them, so you've got to manage that. And then on top of that, they throw a 30-day time limit into it, so you've now got to get 30 parts in 30 days, although I'm pretty sure you only need 25 parts to escape, but either way. Yeah, you've got a time limit, you've got deaths happening because of your mistakes, and yeah. The game has 4 different areas, 5 if you count the final trial, but that's just the final boss, which is still quite hard to this day if you don't know what's happening, where you'll just jump up and crush all your Pikmin because you didn't know what was coming. And the first area is kind of just an introduction to the game, but there's still more to it than the final trial, so at least it has that going for it. The other 3 areas are called the Forest of Hope, the Forest Neighbour and the Distant Spring, each having their own theme. Forest of Hope is like just that for the player. It's the first place you arrive after you get introduced to the game, and then you'll find different objects that will help you, as well as your first like proper enemies. Now, I could talk about all the different enemies for ages and how to fight them and what they do and what they look like, but I'm not going to do that. I will talk about the combat though, and how you deal with the enemies. Considering Olimar can't fight, other than if you press A, he does little punches that do nothing. The fighting comes down to throwing your Pikmin onto the enemies to beat them to death. So the Pikmin will latch on if you throw them, so they're out of danger. But the enemies will try to shake them off so they can get away to eat them or crush them or whatever. The only drawback to this though is, like I said, the enemies will shake them off, and you can only throw one at a time. Or you can swarm the enemies, so all your Pikmin will charge the enemy at once, and your Pikmin will be able to hit them all at the same time, but they aren't out of the danger, so the enemy could just turn around and eat them or crush them. So yeah, there are 7 bosses in the game, including, I'm pretty sure it's 2 or 3 secret bosses, and the highlight of these bosses is by far the Smoky Prog, who's a frog who's made of smoke, as the name kind of suggests. And it's one of the more unique bosses in the franchise, for the main fact that he can just murder your whole squad of Pikmin if they get in his way. Like, he leaves a trail of poison behind him, and you've got to try somehow throw all your Pikmin onto his head. And it's not as if he's just standing there or like attacking you. He makes his way to the Pikmin's onions and then kills all the Pikmin that are meant to be safe in their home. So yeah, like I said, the only way to kill him is by throwing Pikmin at his head, but if you miss, they will die because they'll be in his poison trail. And the reward you get for killing this guy is a golden pearl that gives you like around 100 Pikmin, I think, of your choosing. So it's not a great reward, but it's a fun fight that will always be worth doing just because of how fun it is. Yeah, I got sidetracked, so back to the areas. The Forest of Hope will give you your first new Pikmin after the red Pikmin, the yellows, which, like we said, they can carry bomb rocks and be thrown higher than the other Pikmin. They're also the worst Pikmin in the game by like a long shot. I don't even think it's close. There's only a few times in the game where you'll need them to be thrown higher than the others. And the bomb rocks, once you've got rid of those few walls that you need them to get rid of, you won't want to pick them up because one little mistake with a bomb rock can wipe your entire squad out because of the fuse timer on it's so short. So if like your Pikmin gets thrown that's holding the bomb rock, he'll just drop it. Or if he gets eaten, it drops and the fuse is lit. So you're more in danger with bombs in your squad than without them. The actual area itself is a forest, but it isn't moody or anything. Like, as soon as you land, you've got the sun shining down on you. Like, as you progress through the day and it becomes evening and eventually night, the sun will like match how the amount of time you've got left, the sun will match it, which is really cool, especially for a 2001 game. And then at night you're forced to leave the planet due to harsh conditions at night, so you'll just fly off, and then yeah, it's just a normal forest, open areas for you to walk around and explore with a little lake. Another thing I forgot to mention is Olimar and the Pikmin are around an inch tall, so yeah, that's just something quite cool. I'm pretty sure like they're some of the smallest characters in gaming. The next area is the Forest Navel, which is set in a cave, and it's the first and only time in the Pikmin franchise when you're in a cave whilst being timed, which is quite cool. And it's the only cave in Pikmin 1, something they made a lot more prominent in the next game, for better or worse. Anyways, this is like, yeah, a cave map, so it's got stalagmites growing everywhere, it's very dark. And the main boss of this is a fungus, and the other one's a spider, which is really cool considering what it is. There's also a fair bit of water in this like level, which is why you get the next and final Pikmin for the game in here, the blue one. So you can now travel in water areas and fight aquatic creatures and get your ship parts that are in the water. These ones are an actual game changer, because now you can head back to the Forest of Hope and the impact site and get the parts you couldn't before. Yeah, and in Pikmin, I should mention, there's a fair bit of returning to areas you've previously been to before due to time limit and needing different Pikmin for different tasks. Also, each area has different enemies to fight and learn about, so yeah, that's really cool as well. The blue Pikmin are also like, yeah, really important, and I'd say they're equal to the reds. The amount of water in the Forest Navel in the next area being like a mainly water area just, yeah, really solidifies them being really important. Anyway, like I was saying, the next area of the game is the Distant Spring. Yeah, the next area of the game is called the Distant Springs, and like I said, it's just so much water here, so blues are a must-have at most times whilst here. This is also the area you fight the Smoky Prog, like the one I was on about earlier, which is another cool thing considering it's all water-based and the boss is a frog. The area has a tree stump in the middle of it where you can see like how small your characters actually are. and it's got the bones of a creature that became before you, and in a weird way, this is like a very eerie area just because of that. Like, I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, the bones of this creature were quite big, and who or what cut the tree stump down. Stuff like that's like never explained, but I think it's quite cool to like theorize about. Like, is there large creatures on this planet, like human-sized? Well, we get answers to that actually later on in the franchise, but yeah, for now we didn't know, and it was just quite an interesting thing to theorize about. So yeah, while the game is less detailed than the rest of the franchise, it still has so much charm to them, and the areas are pretty iconic as well for the franchise. The Pikmin are kind of dumbasses and will follow you no matter what, unless you tell them not to. And I mean, like, no matter what, the reds and yellows can't swim, but they couldn't care less. If they see you walk into some water and you've told them not to follow you, they will follow you into that water and die. If there's certain danger ahead and you want to just go explore and see what it's about, they will follow with you and they will die. Some of them will trip over at random points and they'll stop following you because you're too far away from them, and all this kind of different stuff. And nighttime comes, and if they're not in your squad, then they'll die, so you got to go find them. So Pikmin are a real issue, whilst being the most useful thing, the only useful thing in this game really. And it's weird because you don't want to let them die, so once you see one's missing, you will go out and try find it before nighttime comes. There's so many ways for these things to die, at like the point where these Pikmin are dumb children, and the moral is don't let your kids die. There's also different levels of Pikmin, so you've got Leaf, Bud and Flower, Leaf being the weakest and slowest, so they'll be weaker damage wise and they'll run slower. Stem, they'll hit a bit stronger, be a bit quicker, and then Flower's what you want, where they'll attack stronger. I'm pretty sure they're quicker, and they're just more useful. Yeah, anyway, let's talk about the music. The music is amazing, like everything else in this game. It's so atmospheric. I'm not going to break down each track and gush over how good each one is, because I'll be honest, I have no clue what instruments are used and what each one brings to the table. But what I do know is when I hear something and I like it, and pretty much for every track in this game I like it, and you know what, I'm just going to do a festive top 5 songs in Pikmin 1 and give a reason why I like them so much. So yeah, I'm doing exactly what I just said I'm not going to do, but I think that that's fair. Because I don't think the music is talked about enough in this game, and I guess the reason that could be is because all the tracks are like 1 minute long and some of them are quite floaty and goofy, so there's that, I guess. Anyways, going in at number 5 is a 3-in-1, and yes, I'm allowed to do that because they're all kind of the same song, just kind of little twists on each other, and it's such a staple for this series. And those 3 songs will be Night Comes, End of the Day and Chapter Complete. These songs are all constants in the series. They're in Pikmin 1, 2, 3, 4, and yeah, it all started here. Like, the little melody is so good and it will stick in my brain probably forever. It gives such a sense of release that you're off the planet and safe for now, and you can relax for a short while. But yeah, there's not much more to say other than that. It's really catchy and I'm glad it sticks around for the rest of the series. Number 4 is Impending Doom, aka the Beady Longlegs theme. It's goofy, but it does give you a sense of, well, impending doom, which is great. The song isn't as catchy as End of the Day, but it gives you what I love about this series more than anything. Atmosphere. Catchiness is just a bonus, but yeah, the atmosphere of this song is great. And to go along with it is a pretty good boss fight. Again, another staple of the series, the Beady Longlegs. You've got a bunch of that kind of family in the series. Number 3 is the Forest of Hope. This song is so relaxing, like beyond belief. I've just happily had this on in the background whilst doing stuff because it makes just such a good relaxing song, and it's like weirdly the most nostalgic song in this game for me. Well, minus one other song, but yeah. And the fact the music changes depending on what's happening, like if you're near a hazard or if it's near sunset time, or if it's near sunset time and you're near a hazard, it changes. I think it's called like dynamic music or something. I'm not sure. It's just little details like that I absolutely love about this game, and this song in particular just is fantastic and, like I said, nostalgic. Number 2, the people who helped. These songs are for the credits of the game, and it gives me chills for some reason. Just hearing this song, it's like, it is a beautiful song, and it feels like quite grand for the series, especially for the first game. And it could work in 2 ways. The people who helped make this amazing game, whilst the credits roll and you're seeing everyone's names come up and all that. And then there's also the Pikmin who, yeah, while they're not people, they helped Olimar with his struggle to get off the planet and home after a long struggle. And the song is both sad and happy, and it works in both instances, because while it being just the credits with the people who made it, yeah, you beat the game, you should be happy, congratulations, you did it, but now it's over, so you're done. And in instance 2, with it being about the Pikmin and Olimar, well, yeah, they helped Olimar get off the planet and everything. They also have to say goodbye for what could be forever. They could, like, never know. Number 1's the title screen, or main theme. It was really close between number 1 and 2, because number 2 is amazing still, but number 1, yeah, I landed on this because this is Pikmin 1. When I think of a song in Pikmin 1, it's this song, and especially the little motif here. And the song also feels really naturey. I know that's not a word, but it just seems fitting here. The song somehow feels like it made up a word. It feels like it is about nature, and the game is about nature, and yeah, this song is the peak of sounding atmospheric. It's also really catchy. Like I said, catchiness is just a bonus, but I prefer the atmospheric songs, and this is both nailed down. So yeah, this is the peak song for Pikmin 1 for me. Like I said, I'm not a huge music person, and this isn't like the definitive list of the songs in the games, but I know what I like, and yeah, this is what I like. Anyway, let's talk about the story. So the story to Pikmin isn't a crazy, in-depth, plot-driven, massive story game like The Last of Us or Xenoblade, with a bunch of twists that will keep you on the edge of your seat, but a rather simple story that puts you right in the action. And you get the stakes right off the bat, which isn't save the world or defeat this multiverse-eating monster, but it's like help one man get home. So the story is a guy from space, so I guess it's an alien, which I've never really thought about. He's on a space vacation, and then out of nowhere an asteroid hits his ship, which sends him spiraling down to a mysterious planet that, from what I'm aware, hasn't been explored by any other outer world creatures. And after the spaceman lands, he needs help from a species he finds on the planet, which are called Pikmin, to fix his ship. And he finds out 30 of his ship parts are missing off his ship, and he needs to get them to get home. Not only does he have to do that, but he's got 30 days worth of oxygen available to him before he suffocates. I should probably say this. The man's name's Olimar, and he's the most fleshed out character from any Nintendo game ever. And he doesn't say a single word of dialogue, which we can understand. But yeah, the fact they fleshed out a non-verbal character just through different methods is crazy. At the end of every day, when his ship's floating around the vast emptiness of space, you get to read what he's wrote in his ship log, and you learn a lot about who he is and what his life is like back on his own planet. Like, we learn that he has a wife and kids, why he named the Pikmin Pikmin, which is just them looking like pick carrots from his home planet, which I forgot to mention is called Hocotate or Hocotate. We learn he's a guy that gives up very easily from the log where he says he doesn't care what happens to him, and how his wife always said he gives up. So we learn he's got different struggles that he's going through even on his planet and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm not going to go through all the different logs and stuff. And when it comes to Olimar's characterization, we also learn that he's a good artist from all his sketches of the wildlife and the Pikmin, the enemies and stuff like that he sees in the game. And the game can end in two ways. One, Olimar tries to take off and his ship fails on him, which sends him crashing back down to the planet he wants to leave. He then dies and the Pikmin pick him up and throw him into the onion, turning Olimar into a Pikmin himself. And it cuts off of Olimar's helmet, growing like a stem, and a leaf through it, which is the bad ending, which it's really cool. The game had two endings, and it weren't just like a wall of text where it's you failed to get off the planet, unlucky. And then there's ending 2, and if you get all the items you need and you get off the planet, Olimar will set off on his journey home, and he says his goodbyes to the Pikmin and thank you, and then flies off, leaving all the new friends he made along the way. And as he's flying off, we see the almost extinct creatures that Olimar's helped out all throughout the game, that they've learnt how to survive without him from their adventures, and now they're defending themselves, fighting back against the predators at, I think it's at night, when the Pikmin usually hide. They're now out fighting back without Olimar's guidance, and then it cuts back to Olimar flying off back home in space, and then we see the dozens of different onions, the ones we haven't seen in the game, like orange, lime green, green, purple. We see all those flying in space, showing there's a lot left on this planet to uncover. But that's not up to Olimar, as he looks forward once more and then just heads home back to his family. For a 2001 Nintendo game, the story's amazing. Don't get me wrong, it's no Xenoblade 1 or 3, but it is still very good, with, like I said, the best protagonist in all of Nintendo's long line of characters. Pikmin, from what I've gathered, was a passion project from Shigeru Miyamoto, and I, as well as a lot of other people, owe this man so much for creating such a great series and pushing to make such a great game with a lot of love and creativity behind it. Gaming has meant a lot to me, all throughout my life, but only one other game comes close to meaning as much as Pikmin means to me, but that's a topic for a different day. From gameplay to music, this game is a pure masterpiece. It's a little late into its life to do a review on it, but if I was forced to review it and had to give it a score, I'd easily, without like a doubt, give this a 10 out of 10. I wish it got a full remaster with better graphics and all that, but the port to the Switch was more than plenty, so now I can play all 4 on the same device. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think. See ya.